Friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. On the phone with us today, Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools. Good morning, Dr. Taylor. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. We're having a little old school education without internet and phones right now, but hoping to have that resolved by the end of the day.
Wow. Now, do you have the stone tablets for the kids, and are they chiseling away? Are they learning about the wheel and fire and all of that?
I'm guessing they're all teaching teachers how to use their hotspots and how we can still move forward.
Yep, there you go. Boy, I tell you what, kids, they've got it all figured out, don't they? They
Oh yeah.
Yep, they know. There's always a plan B with the kids for sure. So, very good. Well, hopefully those things get resolved. What is your schedule like this week, by the way? When are the kids in your schools?
Yeah, we just have school Monday and Tuesday, so a short week, which sometimes, is a little bit crazier. So I guess we're just going to go with it, and then we have Wednesday off and, of course, the holiday. So nice long weekend for everyone to rejuvenate and spend some time with family and friends.
All right, very good. So look forward to the holidays right around the corner and kind of getting those off to a hectic start, if you will, like you mentioned. But and speaking of hectic, Dr. Taylor, boy, it just feels like your district has just kind of dealt with one thing after the other over the last several years here. And, of course, you and I have talked about the football and track facility and all the issues that are going on out there. Remind us of what's happening and what's the latest? What's your board been up to trying to get a solution to that?
Sure. Our plan was to resurface our track, although since I've been here, which is 9 years, we've had constant kind of heaving of concrete and fence posts and just some underlying issues. So we conducted some soil studies and learned that the aggregate base under the track, there wasn't one. They had done some things to repair soil at the original installation, but honestly, they just didn't hold up and it wasn't the right solution. And then they also have drainage issues. So we've got to install field tile under there. So we've kicked off kind of an emergency project. We filed for health and life safety amendments. We had about a 5-inch drop off from the inside lane to the ground. So, people can get injured easily. And so we've begun that process. We're in the design phase. The board did recently approve working cash bonds up to $3 million. We're going to use reserves. We're going to use health, life, safety. We don't have a budget yet for the project, so we really didn't know how much of that, but we won't use all of that. And then from there, we'll have the community weigh in once we have the designs here in a couple weeks and the budget. And our goal is to start the work this spring. So it would be replacing the entire field, all of your pavement track, kind of all of those things down there. Start that in the spring and finish before fall sports.
So a lot going on there, Dr. Taylor, and just kind of remind us, as you embarked on that, obviously an unexpected cost like this, I'm sure you don't have whatever the dollar figure is that you need just laying around. So how about just trying to figure out the money situation with this?
Yeah, that's going to be the mix. So we applied for a grant, also the school maintenance project grant. So we're hoping to get another $50,000 there. So we've kind of been great. 4 months. Still, school started in August, but that goes fast when you're trying to, organize several $1 million. And we do have reserves. Our fund balances are good. We're presenting the levy, and we're still decreasing the tax rate to the lowest it's been in over 20 years. But coming up with that kind of money and not for, most of the project is underground. We are going to alternate bid turf and, add some things that we needed, smaller things like pole vault. But it was, a couple $100,000 project that's now going to be a few million. So it's a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. And, obviously to be able to have the facility be, stable and obviously usable, that's the end goal. But it sounds like you're going to have to make some contingencies in the spring. So what have you been working on there?
Yeah, so we've been communicating with Clinton and Tri-Valley we had, I think it was 2 home track meets for each. We have a lot of kids out for track, over 50 students, and, we only have 260 in the high school. So a lot of our kids are in track. But they'll have some interesting practices here in the schools and in town. We do have a kind of a practice football field area. And then we're going to work with our neighboring districts to host several meets, make sure we cover senior night, all those things that are important to kids and important to our community. And so luckily our neighbors have been very gracious so far in offering to host things for us and let us use tracks in the evening, but then you're also shuffling kids and trying to get bus drivers for evening practices and that sort of thing. So our plan is going to go to the board in the next month or so, and we'll owe them all a big favor after this, I guess.
Yeah, definitely for sure. It's at least you have time to plan for that. You know what I mean? You're not like this didn't pop up, on March 15th when you're ready to kick the season off.
Exactly, because then it would have been more of a panic. So we have had several months to plan, and our AD is doing a great job working with both of those districts.
Very good. Well, Dr. Taylor, again, just kind of on that subject, anything that the board has been discussing or anything about it that we haven't touched on you want to put out there for us?
I think just for the community to be aware, we're going to send out a survey once we have some design ideas and budgets and kind of get a pulse of the community. This is one of those projects that if we had planned for a year or two, we would have had evening forums, right, and done a whole process. But since it really came up as more of an emergency, we still want them to weigh in and share their thoughts.
Very good. Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, our guest on the phone here for this morning. And so, Dr. Taylor, with that, I know you recently were at the school board conference up in Chicago. How about the school board conference? What kept you busy this past weekend?
Yeah, we were up there for the weekend. The women's leadership event was great. And really the kind of new thing is all the AI sessions. So it's been interesting to see where that is headed. You think of a lot with education and teaching and the abilities there, but not always with administration and just kind of efficiencies and how can we use artificial intelligence in communication, right, in studying complex information and interpreting it for your community and public. So some new sessions focused on that. And then we always have, the negotiations, the superintendent contract ones, kind of a lot of legal information up there. But I love Chicago. I love it for a few days a year, and that's about it. The weather was nice, so it was just a fun weekend all around.
School board conference, Dr. Taylor. What goes on up there? Is it you talked about like breakout sessions and things like that? What are you interested in when you go up there? What do you want to hear about? How about that?
Yeah, I'm very interested in the artificial intelligence piece right now and how we can use this to make our schools better and to make us better leaders. So I really focused a lot on technology this year. But something that's not at the conference, but that I am always interested in, is the Lighting Magnificent Mile and the Wintrust Parade. So it's nice to kind of unofficially kick off your Christmas season while you're up there and start to get you in the holiday spirit, because, of course, I haven't done any shopping or preparing at this point.
You're probably among many in that yep. camp for sure. You talked about artificial intelligence, Dr. Taylor. What did you hear about that this year? What is the latest in artificial intelligence in education?
Oh my gosh, I feel like it's overwhelming right now because there are so many tools. So it's learning how to evaluate those and which tools are appropriate for which ages, right? And there's a ton of tools for catching plagiarism, but there's also tools that are useful for kids, right? When there's really difficult terms and vocabulary, you can, put a paragraph in and say, explain this to me at a 9th grade level. And so it gives teachers some ways to explain difficult information in a much, easier to understand format. So it's evolving so quickly. I mean, everything I've heard is this is the biggest thing since internet, and it definitely does feel like it. So we're going to be focusing our efforts around professional learning for our staff on this year again, even though we did it last year.
Yeah, when it comes to AI, there's and one thing I initially heard about was kind of the downside of AI in education, because, we talked about kids and technology, and today they're probably teaching teachers about hotspot and those sorts of things. Yep. But, they know AI. This stuff is just, the latest thing comes out and they grasp it so quickly. And for me, when I first heard about AI, it was the potential negative side of things. But it sounds like there's a lot of positives and ways that it can be used in education. And we're probably just scratching the surface on all of that.
Yeah, there was such a fear at first, and I get it, because it's how do we as teachers keep up with the misuse of AI, right?
Right.
But I have quickly seen that go to a little bit to the side. There's still kids who are going to try it, but we just tell them right up front, don't do this, right? This is how you can use AI, and this is what you don't do. And there's lots of ways to scan for it. But for us, really getting into a kid is struggling with the concept and having AI help us determine exactly which step they're missing or what they're not understanding so we can reteach that. I think that's going to be one of the most powerful advances in education.
Sure, sure. Any other breakout sessions or things of interest you took away from this year's school board conference?
Well, it is a negotiation year for us, and so I spent some time on that. And I think the other piece with that is the economy itself and the cost of living. You're seeing, contracts go at much higher rates, so trying to plan for that too. And insurance, all of those things that aren't as fun and interesting to go to as AI, but necessary. And it's overwhelming along with, emergency projects. So we're going to have to do some financial planning for the next few months. I think our bargaining is in April.
Yeah, so that's probably an interesting time. What did you take away about the negotiation year? Anything new out of that?
Yeah, well, some of it is there's a lot of proposals, and you've probably seen a lot of the get rid of Tier 2 efforts, which is the Tier 2 teacher's pension. And then if you do that, how does that impact districts, and is there a pension shift and that sort of thing? And so there's still a lot of unknowns, and I think, legislatively, we're expecting to see something happen with teacher pensions this year, and all of that goes into that same compensation package. So what we're really having to do is prepare many options because we don't know where the legislation is going to land. But it was good to hear the most current legal up-to-date information, because in the day-to-day, you get busy with your job, you get busy with school and life, right? And nobody really wants to read a bunch of school law at night before they go to bed. But it was a great time to kind of catch up and, put all of those things together so we can start planning.
Is there a new hot button issue that may come up in negotiations besides that pensions tier you're talking about there?
I think pension, health insurance is going to be big for us because our health insurance is kind of operating at a loss, and we don't provide, we pay $695 a month for each employee. So hundreds of thousands a year. But health insurance costs are going up so much that even if employees are getting a raise, it's going towards the insurance. And so it's how do we balance all of these things so that we're able to retain employees, right, and keep up with the benefits of districts around us. You have to also know what everybody else is offering.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Very good. Well, Dr. Taylor, I'll tell you what, let's break here, come back with some more. How do folks learn about all things Heyworth schools?
Yeah, check us out on Facebook. You cannot call us today or anything like that because we can't answer, but Facebook or our website is husd4.org.
Very good. Again, Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, my guest on the phone. More to come with Dr. Taylor on The Morning Show.
WHOW. So you can continue with your busy schedule. Visit our full-service team
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, on the phone call with us today, Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools. And Dr. Taylor, I know that school report card data has come out. You and I, when we chatted last, you had it in hand, but we're not able to kind of dive into the specifics. Now that you're able to kind of put out there all the data and the public's able to access it, highlight the Heyworth Schools report card this time around.
Yeah, we had a lot to celebrate, and both principals shared an update at the board meeting, kind of first trimester and school report card data. So our elementary was designated as exemplary, and then our junior high and high school were both commendable, with the high school missing by less than a point. So close, but not there. But either way, commendable is still great. And I think one of the greatest areas of growth we saw was in English language arts, and the growth, so back to pre-pandemic levels and higher. Attendance is getting better. It's still, not where we would love it to be, chronic attendance, but it's much better. And we had a data session with ISB, with the state board, and they were very complimentary of that. They're like, you guys are back to pre-pandemic on almost everything, and that's why you're up here in this top 10% of schools in the state. So we've been doing a lot of celebrating and have fun things planned for kids, too.
Like what?
So our kids are having a movie pajama kind of day, and we had a food truck for staff last week. We have a newer food truck in Heyworth, and it's a Heyworth family, and we thought, why not bring them in and buy everybody lunch? And so, it's a lot of hard work, and we don't want to focus too much on the test, but we want our kids to take it serious, show us what you know, and really focus on growth from their prior year scores. And so, as you know, we also put into place those smaller class sizes, and we'll be using this data. We added 4 teachers last year, and we'll be using this data to say, hey, how are these things working? Next year will be year 3 of that, and we're supposed to do an evaluation, so we hope to keep going forward.
Very good. Dr. Taylor, when it comes to the report card, obviously there is a lot that goes into it. What all is in the report card? I know there's test scores, there's data points about academics. You talked about the attendance piece and those sorts of things. What all goes into the school report card data? Remind us.
Yeah, it's really nice now that there are so many more indicators. 15 years ago when I was doing this, there was one. It was one test score on one day, and that's what counted. And so we do have a combination of metrics now, and we have things like ninth graders on track. So making sure when a ninth grader is at the end of their freshman year, right, they passed 5 of their core courses, so they're ready. It's kind of catching the graduation and the dropout issue earlier. Graduation rate is in there, truancy, attendance, all of those things. And they're adding in more college and career readiness indicators and also fine arts. So we don't know what those weights will be yet, but sorry about that. So I think it's a better picture of a well-rounded student and a well-rounded school than it used to be with that one test score.
Sure. Of course, celebrating the good things, all well and good, and deservedly so. You definitely want to do that. But at the same time, you don't want to stand content with where you're at. I'm sure improvement is on your mind as well. Speak to that piece of it a little bit, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, there are several things we're still working on. We added certified teachers to deliver interventions, so any kid who's struggling or, needs challenged more, we added that last year in elementary and junior high, and we're seeing some initial gains there. The college and career readiness piece and making sure kids are getting industry certifications, so working with the Career Center in Bloomington, that has been huge for us. The HEAT Academy, kids can go through there and get certifications through Google and graduate from high school making 6 figures, and those opportunities just weren't always there. And I think, adding that career pathway piece is so critical because everybody doesn't need to go to college and isn't interested in that. And there's so many great career opportunities out there for young people.
Very good. Well, Dr. Taylor, again, report card data. Where do folks find it for Heyworth?
Yeah, it's all on our website. It's husd4.org, and all 3 school report cards are on there, and you can see kind of our improvement plans and things we're working on just to keep getting better.
Very good, very good. Well, Dr. Taylor, a couple of minutes yet still with you here. It's hard to believe, we talked about the Thanksgiving schedule there in Heyworth, and gosh, we're going to be a few weeks away from getting right into Christmas break and all of that. How about your school's, your Christmas calendar this year for kids?
Yeah, it feels like it's nothing but basketball until then. So junior high basketball is in full swing. Our boys have their turkey tournament in Cerro Gordo this week. And it always feels like that. I mean, there's literally basketball games every night and every weekend. So our kids are active and busy. They just released, they're going to do The Sound of Music for the musical this year.
Oh, cool.
And then we just have kind of your typical 2-week break at Christmas, but it'll be basketball until then.
Very good. Very good. So a lot going on. And as you wrap up the semester, Dr. Taylor, do you start to think about, whether it's the next semester, next school year, where does your mind go this time of the year?
Yeah, honestly, it starts going to planning for the end of the school year and summer. So what do we need, and really working, on those big projects and kind of scheduling it all out, making sure we can get everything done, because that's honestly when the most planning really does happen.
And we talked about, of course, the football facility, the track facility. That'll be addressed here this spring and into the summer. Any other areas of need you're starting to look at or think about?
Yeah, we did bid out some HVAC stuff because we've got some older systems in our junior high last year, but they came in about 3 times what the price normally is.
Wow.
So that project, we will probably bid again just to see, but that will be, you can hear accents all over my house, I'm sorry. But we'll still bid it out because you never know, and we want to just make sure we're comparing each year.
Yeah, that's gosh, and so is that an urgent need? If it sounds like one of those things, if you don't address it, it could become a problem.
It's one of those that we've had to spend a lot of money on repairs, but the last year and this year so far has done really well. So
sure,
maybe it was a good thing we didn't replace then, but we are still going to monitor it for sure.
Very good. Well, Dr. Taylor, always good to talk with you. Happy holidays. And by the way, if you don't mind, hang on the line with me when we're done. I got to talk to you about Christmas because it looks like our next interview may fall in there. Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, our guest on the phone. Network News on the way.
WHOW.